Please rise for invocation by Pastor David Troxler of First Christian Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. God, would you pause in the midst of a holiday season together here tonight to govern for the good of the people? Help us all work together for the common good as we thank you for the skills and ability with which we have been blessed. With commitment to our responsibilities, help us to be open and fair to all. With gratitude and grace, from within, we ask for your blessing. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will the clerk call the roll?
Councilman Grubbs?
Present.
Councilman Bastian?
Here.
Councilman Stiltner?
Here.
Vice Mayor Foley? Mayor Burnett?
Present. We have 4 out of 5. We have a quorum. We can conduct business, so let's do just that and start with item 4. Appointments of the two council committees for 2024. Currently, Art House is Reed Foley. General Employees Retirement Trust Fund is Scott Stiltner. River to Sea TPO is Reed Foley. Municipal Firefighters Pension Board is Reed. Police Officers Retirement Trust is Drew. Port Orange Chamber is myself. The Roundtable of Elected Officials is myself, and the First Step Shelter is myself. I would certainly like to see Councilman Grubbs take a couple things off this list, at the very least, maybe Art House, but what are your thoughts, gentlemen? Are you all willing to continue to serve where you're at, or you want to do some old-fashioned horse trading, or what do you want to do for 2024? What do you suggest?
My thought was to try to keep it as consistent as it's been, because I think it's worked good, but I do think that for
Yes.
Councilman Grubbs to pick up something here that maybe has an interest for him.
I would say if Mr. Foley wants to release Art House, I'll take that over for right now and get started.
Well, he's not here to speak for
Yeah.
himself, so we can
Yep.
just do it.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, and Mayor, with my employment schedule, they moved the start times for the police meetings up so it could accommodate that. So that's really the only one I can serve on for this last year, because I just wouldn't be able to do the others justice because I can't get time off.
Okay. So you're fine with the Police Officers Retirement Trust?
Yes, sir.
And I don't see any others there, so.
Mayor, I'd make a motion that we only change Art House to where Councilman Grubbs is now the appointed representative, and we leave everything else the same.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion on the floor and a proper second. Any further discussion? There being none, anyone care to speak to the item? There being none, council final comments? All I can say is that Reed's about to get fired from something, and Tracy's about to get hired for it, so that's what happens when you're not here, right? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No naysayers? All right, we have our appointments this year. The council will be in recess at this point so that we can begin the Town Center CRA meeting. With that, I call the special joint meeting of the Port Orange Town Center Community Development Agency and Port Orange City Council to order. Can I have the roll call?
Chair Reed Foley? Vice Chair Scott Stiltner?
Here.
Donald Burnett?
Here.
Drew Bastian?
Here.
Tracy Grubbs?
Present.
Michael Benedict?
And roll call of the City Council.
Councilman Grubbs?
Present.
Councilman Bastian?
Here.
Councilman Stiltner?
Here.
Mayor Burnett?
Here. With 4 of the 5 council people and 4 of the 6 Town Center Community Redevelopment Agency seats present, we have a quorum. Are there any objections to the notice of the meeting? Hearing no objection, the notice is accepted. Item 2 is approval of minutes. So do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the August 15th City Council and Town Center CRA Joint Special Meeting?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion, proper second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Naysayers? Being none, the minutes are approved unanimously. Does So here, now at this point, I'll be opening the item for joint discussion by the City Council and the CRA. Vice Chair Stiltner will call the vote by the CRA, and then I'll be calling the vote for the City Council. Item 3 is approval of Second Amendment to the contract for the sale and purchase of real property for Riverwalk property to Bristol Port Orange Partners LLC. I need 2 motions, one from the CRA and one from the council for item 3.
Mayor, I'll make a motion on behalf of the CRA.
And I'll second that one.
I have a motion from Vice Mayor Stiltner and a second from, I'm going to give it to Tracy Grubbs.
There you
Drew,
go.
you're a little slow.
Councilman Thornton, go ahead and read out that motion.
Yeah, motion approval of the Second Amendment to the contract for sale and purchase of real property for Riverwalk property to Bristol Port Orange Partners LLC.
Get that last part there, authorizing.
Including the authorization
Number
of the
7.
chairman
Oh,
and
okay.
Number
agency
7,
clerk.
sorry.
I follow you, yeah. Riverwalk Bristol LLC authorizing the chairman and agency clerk to execute all documents necessary.
So that was your motion,
That's my motion.
and that was your second.
Second.
On behalf of the council, can I have a motion on the same item?
Council motion, I'll do that. Move to approve the Second Amendment to the contract for the sale and purchase of real property for 3 Riverwalk properties to Bristol Port Orange Partners LLC, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute all documents necessary.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second on behalf of the council on the item. With that, discussion of the item. Wayne, who have you got for us?
Tim Berman is going to present on behalf of staff. We also have representatives from Bristol here as well. As he's getting up here and getting ready, I just want to say about this same time of year, 2 years ago, the council selected this company for this project. And in the 2 years since then, a lot has gone on. I know there's not been a vertical development going on, but initially when we put this out in front of everyone, we only owned certain property in that area, and they were one of the companies that actually showed being able to build a project in the properties that were owned by the city of CRA. We all agreed the project would be stronger and better with the inclusion of some of the out parcels in the area, and they spent the majority of the first year doing really heavy work getting out there, working with, building positive relationships, and getting multiple properties under contract, which is one of the hardest things to do in urban redevelopment projects is assembling property, and they have continued to do so diligently. And in that same time frame, they have brought forward and put in place a master development agreement. So they have a zoning concept in place. So there's a lot of stuff that's been going on. It's just the hard work behind the scenes. And at this point, as we were moving forward, the world we live in with interest rates and finding funding and financing for commercial projects is a lot different than we were in a couple years ago. And extra time is necessary to get to a better environment to move this project forward. So Tim will take you through some of the details, and Charles will be happy to answer questions. They do this all the time for answering how they go about building these projects. But I just want to put that background out there to let everybody know that there has been a lot going on, and I do think the project ends up stronger for the assemblage of properties that we've been able to put around it. It ends up looking better, it functions better, it does better with traffic, it does better with infrastructure. And with that, I'll turn it over to Tim to go through the details of the actual amendment.
Mr. Berman, did the city manager leave anything left for you to say?
He summed it up pretty well. I've just got the 4 key components in, and then we'll let Mr. Carlock kind of give a little more input onto the construction financing that they are facing here with Bristol over the past 2 years. So as indicated, the Second Amendment essentially covers about 4 items there. The first is extends the approval date for the economic incentive agreement with Volusia County and the city of Port Orange, along with approval of the site plan to November 14th, 2024. It also extends the closing date to December 13th, 2024 for the 3 parcels. It does provide Bristol the ability to request a 9-month extension, which would extend the closing date to September 13th, 2025. That extension could be approved by the city manager along with staff working together. As part of the agreement, it states that the staff would need to consider current market conditions along with national recognized indexes, data tables, and other resources to gauge whether other similar projects to this type are in the boat of still on hold due to construction financing, or if those projects are moving forward with construction financing. These indexes that we've identified will tell us basically kind of the status at that time the request is made, and those will be the items that the city manager and staff will rely on whether to determine to put that extension forward or not then. The fourth item is it provides the requirements to satisfy the city's right of reversion on those 3 parcels. And staff is recommending approval, and Mr. Carlisle is here to speak more on the request along with the financing that Bristol is currently looking forward.
Thank you, sir.
I'm Charles Carlisle, Bristol Development Group, and thanks for letting me come talk to you tonight. I was reminded last time I was here that I took 20 minutes to make my 10-minute presentation, so I'm going to try to make up for that tonight, and then ask me questions if there's more information that you want to know. But the last time we talked about the purchase and sale agreement here, we came in on March the 7th this year to ask for an extension to give us until early 2024 to close on the land. At that time, we were on schedule to make that happen, and we believed fully that it could happen given the financial conditions of the moment, even though there had been some pressure on interest rates to that point. 3 days later, Silicon Valley Bank was taken over by the federal government, and 2 days after that, Signature Bank was taken over.
Yep.
Less than 2 months after that, First Republic Bank was taken over. 10-year Treasury rates continued to accelerate through that, and really have continued to accelerate through November, peaking at around 5%. Those interest rates put tremendous pressure on the balance sheets of the banking institution, and especially the regional banks like Fifth Third or U.S. Bank, Truist, people like that, who are the lifeblood of the construction lending for real estate development. And so it's basically shut down. Most of those banks went into a protective mode, stopped all lending to protect their own balance sheets and make sure they could keep enough cash on hand to satisfy the regulators. And that condition still exists today. Likewise, investors, people who put money in these, like they call it equity investors, based on that fear in the banking system, either stopped doing investments altogether or made demands for returns that made projects basically not workable. Those kind of things never last forever. We know that that's going to change. There's signs that maybe it's changing for the better right now. We're certainly hopeful that it is. I just want to tell you, there's nobody more motivated to get this to the finish line than me and our whole company. We've got, yeah, we've got a little over $2 million of our own money invested in this to date, and still counting, and a lot more to go. And much more important than the money is we've got ourselves, our hearts and souls in this project. It's one of the most interesting and exciting we've had the ability to work on, and it's working with a great group of people as well. So we cherish that, and I just want to tell you, we've built this with enough runway that if we need it, we think we can get to the finish line without having to come back and do this piecemeal. But I hope we can beat these timetables, and the markets will determine that. Is that short enough?
Not bad. I was going to say, you go too long, you might talk us out of it. Council comments or questions? There being none? Wow, that's easy.
Yeah.
For now. With that, would anyone here care to speak to the item?
Good evening. Brendan Galbraith, 4190 Halifax, the owner of Ant Catfish, trying to develop Catfish Commons. Just here in full support of Bristol's extension request. I have full faith that they're going to give their best effort to pull this off. I'd feel different if we weren't talking about an economic condition that would affect every other person at this podium. I think you had 5 or 6 developers here presenting 2 years ago. Everybody to speak of would be in the same scenario. So it's not unique to Bristol. I think we'd all feel a little different if it was unique to the person that we're talking about, but it's really just, it's unique to everybody that's in the development business. So I don't think a change of path would do anything outside of delay and probably pull off the table a type of project that we want to see, and not just a project, but the type of project that we want to see with the mix of the residential and commercial and the architecture. My wife and I sat here 2 years ago to watch the presentations, And the one thing that Bristol presented differently than everybody else, if you recall, was a road remained versus became, the old wall theory, if you see the ocean walk and whatnot. That really hit home with me because that becomes a festival street, that becomes the activity, that type of stuff. We were just at a celebration 2 or 3 weeks ago for when they lit their Christmas tree and they blow their snow and whatnot, the place was packed. That's the type of stuff that this can have with the road in front, but it's a different vision than some other folks had. So I think it's fair to slow it down and say, let's be patient with this process. We're 24, 25 years into is it 98 or 99 the CRA kicked off, I forget. But, a few more months or a year and a half, it's not gonna, derail what we want to get done. So I'm just here in full support, and I think we still got the right group involved, and let's move forward with, the plan that's on the table tonight. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brandon. Anyone else? Seeing no one, back to council and the CRA. Comments, council? Questions, council? Questions, CRA? Comments, CRA?
Just a comment that I appreciate the continued relationship that Bristol has had with the staff and city council and keeping us informed. In some regards, maybe even more than I would have anticipated, and maybe more than we've seen in the past with other developments.
Certainly more.
Yeah, certainly. And the inside look and the process and allowing us to share our feedback and ideas openly, and it has been a great relationship. And I think all of us, including the staff, the residents, Bristol, everybody is so looking forward to the project that you can't help but want it to happen right now. But you also understand that we don't want to sacrifice the project like Mr. Galbraith's talking about. We want the quality of the project and the whole thing, and that's what we're looking for. And I'm very appreciative for all of the other work that Bristol has done to even expand the project and the quality of the project, and a lot of those things I know we're not going to talk about tonight, but I think in the years to come, a lot of residents and people that come to enjoy this area will see it and be very, very impressed. And at that point, you will definitely appreciate the time that it takes to do a project like this and make sure that all the stars are aligned, so to speak.
I think you just hit on the key point there. If you sacrifice quality for the sake of time, then we could regret that forever.
Right.
Yeah,
And
that would definitely create disappointment.
I
if we
am
did
looking
that.
forward to seeing that civic waterfront. I'm looking forward to seeing people and enjoying that civic waterfront. I'm looking forward to seeing people go down there to eat, relax, enjoy, being able to walk the entire length of Riverwalk Park through there. I'm looking forward to the dock. I'm looking forward to so many different things that this project has to offer if we maintain the quality of it. And I'll stop right there because I want to make sure everybody else gets in, and I don't want to capstone before. Drew?
No, I'm good. I think they've shown the commitment and dedication to this project just in the work they've done already over the past 2 years to get here. So we're waiting we're waiting a little bit longer, but I think it's completely necessary, and I think it's smart to do that because we wouldn't want to sacrifice what they've already done. And if they weren't committed to this thing, they could have walked away already.
Sure.
But they've made
Absolutely.
financial investments and a lot of staff time in doing all this. We're getting there. It's just a little bump in the road. It's not that big a deal. It's going to slow it down a little bit, but I think the finished product we're all going to be happy to see.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Tracy?
Good partnerships are, hard to find, but great partnerships like this is outstanding. Us working together to make this happen is, I know what staff and everybody has been talking to me over the time on this project, and I'm all for it, and given the extension, I have no issues with this to make it right the first time, not having to backtrack. But I want to thank Brendan for coming in. Hearing from other businesses in the local area backing the project is crucial to these projects. It's not just us, it's the community and everybody down in the Riverwalk area that you're expanding for them and for yourself. So hearing from Mr. Brandon, thank you coming in and speaking on behalf of the area.
We have, the expression, a rising tide lifts all boats. We're already seeing other investment going on in that area, not just in our city, but in the South Daytona portion of that corridor as well. We're seeing it across the river nearby. So much of this will affect everybody else, but it's likewise, it's symbiotic. And when you get a chance to work with somebody who's nationally renowned, and this company is nationally renowned, and they are already invested a significant amount of time and dollars into this project. The one thing that I've got to remember is that even if it's not us sitting up here, somebody's going to be up here cutting a ribbon on that. Some of y'all will still be up here probably. I likely will not be, but that's okay, because this dream started with many councils ago. The project, and it came in different iterations, but the idea of developing a waterfront along Port Orange was not ours.
No.
It was almost 30 years old. It started with somebody else. The thought of how to do it might have changed a number of different times, but the original idea, we can't take credit for it, and that's okay. Sometimes I'm perfectly good with taking somebody else's great ideas and working it to fruition, and this job up here is never done anyway. We will always be looking for ways, whoever's up here, to better this community, and this is part of that. And I'm grateful for Bristol wanting to be a large part of that, and I look forward to that part of Port Orange's future. There's a news story out there running on Channel 9 about the Down Under District and the improvements that we want to do there. A lot of that is got to do with what we're doing with this. It's and we talk about the symbiotic relationship. Those businesses over there are going to survive and thrive based on the things that are going on around them. And they're down there investing. We've got a couple of significant businesses that weren't there 5 years ago, and they are drawing. They made that investment before this, and they'll benefit from it afterwards. And I absolutely love that, that our business community wants not just to invest in Port Orange to make a dollar, but to improve the community as well. With that, Councilman Stiltner.
All right, for the CRA, we have a motion and a second on the floor to recommend approval and second amendment to the contract for the sale and purchase of real property for 3 Riverwalk properties to Bristol Port Orange Partners LLC, authorizing the chairman and agency clerk to execute all documents necessary. You call the roll, please.
For the CRA.
The CRA.
Vice Chair Stiltner,
Yes.
Member Burnett,
Yes?
Member Bastian,
Yes.
Member Grubbs,
Yes.
You want to announce the 4-0?
Passes 4-0.
All right. With that, for the council, we have a motion to second on the floor to approve the second amendment to the contract for sale and purchase of real property for 3 Riverwalk properties to Bristol Port Orange Partners LLC, authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the documents necessary. Call the roll, please.
Councilman Grubbs,
Yes.
Councilman Bastian,
Yes.
Councilman Stiltner.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett,
Yes, 4-0. Nobody changed their mind between votes.
No.
That was good to see. Any other further business come before the members of the Town Center Community Redevelopment Agency or the City Council? There being none, the joint meeting is adjourned and we will reestablish as a CRA. Or we will reestablish, reconvene as the council. Geez, I'm confusing myself. With that, public comments on consent agenda items? There being none, may I have a motion for the approval of the agenda for the evening?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion proper second to approve the agenda for the evening. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have items 7 through 13 on consent. May I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
I'll second.
A little slow over there, Drew. We have a
I
motion
was
and
thinking
proper
Tracy
second
was gonna do
for
it.
approval of consent agenda. Call the roll.
Councilman Grubbs,
Yes.
Councilman Bastian,
Yes.
Councilman Stiltner,
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 4-0. Consent agenda is approved. That brings us to public participation. Do we have any cards, Tracy? None? Okay. Council comments. Why don't we start with Tracy this week?
So I just want to touch on our consent agendas that we approved. There's a couple things that I just want to notate here. First one is right off the bat is Diamond Cleaners of Port Orange being re-awarded the contract. And I can't stress it enough that there's ways for local businesses to come in and bid on contracts. We want local businesses in Port Orange to be doing business with the city of Port Orange. So that awardment there is kudos to them, but also for the city, that we're keeping money inside the city is how I look at it. Having money go outside the city is not always the best thing. You know, we want to keep our employees, our staff, our citizens employed. So please come in, find out from council, the city clerks, how do you come in to bid on contracts that are available to you. It's a very important detail, and you'll find out it's kind of nice to do things locally and you're not having to go far away. Second thing is, thank God, dealing with roads. Beautiful thing, right? We have a couple road projects, but two that are very, very, very noteworthy is Madeline Avenue, going from Clyde Morris out towards Williamson, being completely redone. But the other one is Town West. Town West hasn't been touched since basically it was put in. We've been doing sidewalks, reconstructions of the sidewalks, and getting everything properly built back up on those. But now we're going to have from literally Williamson all the way to 415 completely repaved and redone. And I know I get tons of phone calls. When are you going to fix the potholes? Well, the potholes aren't going to be fixed. We're just going to run them all over with new road. So that's a beautiful thing that it's completely being redone. That approval doesn't mean it's going to happen next week. I know that's going to be the next question, is when it's going to happen. It's weather dependent. Hopefully within the next 6 months. Correct. We should have paving crews out there in the good hot summer sun and putting new road down. So thank you for staff for getting these things on different contracts, piggybacks to get them done, because yes, it's a lot of phone calls dealing with these all the time. So thank you.
Sooner is always better than later.
Absolutely.
No doubt. Drew, what you got for us?
Nothing really tonight. I'm just, you know, we discussed the Bristol thing briefly, and, you know, supporting that was definitely a necessary item to move us forward, and I'm just looking forward to that project. Even though I won't be up here by the time it goes, I'll be spending time down there once they develop it, and it'll be a great destination for sure.
Indeed. Scott?
Just a couple things, and actually to touch on what some of the stuff Tracy's talking about with regard to the bidding. Businesses that want to do that, you don't want to wait until there's an attractive bid to find out if you're even eligible, or if you've done all of the things to put your business in a position to be able to bid. So I love what Councilman Grubbs talked about, but I just also want to recommend, even if there's not a project on the immediate horizon that a business is interested in, they should spend a little bit of time researching what they will need to have in place in terms of the different levels of insurance and clearances and different things like that for different types of contract that are in their industry, because there's a lot of work out there, and as a city, you know, one of the frustrating things that we have experienced on the council, and it kind of, I guess it's a little bit cyclical, is that there are periods of time where we have a lot of interested bids. You might get 6, 8, 9 businesses bidding, and then there's other times where you're lucky if you got one, because of whatever reason. There's so much work out there, and there's just not a lot of companies that meet the requirements to do that stuff. So it's an important thing for our city, and I appreciate Councilman Grubbs bringing that to light tonight. Paving cost, you know, or paving projects, this was something I've actually had some folks asking me about as well recently, and the one thing to share is that our paving projects, a lot fall into our long-range planning of the city, and as we plan and we budget, we project what we anticipate certain costs to be. And so you've got let's say you need to do 30 miles of repaving and you've got this projected cost of X, and what happens is things that are outside of our control, right? And then the next thing you know is that the projected cost, having sat on TPO, we see this a lot where you projected a cost and now the real cost is sometimes 15, 20, and even 30% greater than what the budgeted cost was. And so because we're not the federal government and you can't print money, what that means is you do less paving. Because you've only got X, budgeted, and now it's going to cut down your paving projects. And so none of us like to see that, but that's the reality of municipal and county government when you can't print your own money, and you can only, increase those budgets so much. And the same thing applies to the concrete work. That's been amazing to see how much more expensive concrete work has gotten. And I know our staff has done a good job of trying to find and getting some other companies available to do some of that bidding work and keep that competitive. So that's great. On some good positive notes, I just want to say thank you to all of the different registered nonprofit organizations this time of the year that serve in the city of Port Orange and the surrounding areas. This is a huge time of the year, obviously, and it just seems like every time I look, there's another great nonprofit organization doing great things in the city of Port Orange, and I just think it's a combination of so many of them that really, the help is there. I mean, people need it this time of the year. They simply just need to ask, and we can point them in the right directions, and that's a really nice feeling to have. And then lastly, I just want to encourage people, if they haven't already done so, take the time, go on the City of Port Orange Parks and Rec page. If you want to see, there's a great map on there that will show you where all the homes are that actually registered to be focal points of Christmas lights and decorations, and where they're located and how to get around to them. And some of them, man,
Light up Port Orange.
wow,
Yep.
they have really outdone themselves. It's pretty impressive. A lot of the neighborhoods this year, even my neighborhood, it just seems like it's a whole different feel this year than it's been the last few years. People are decorating more and coming up with some really creative stuff, and it looks great as a city as a whole.
Somebody who lives in your neighborhood is going to hear you say "even my neighborhood" and going to
Yeah.
ask you later what you meant by that.
Right, for sure. That's
What
all I
else you
got
got?
tonight.
Just want to mention a couple of things. First of all, the week of Christmas, everybody's going to ask, what are we doing with trash? Christmas Day is a Monday. Well, if your trash day is Monday, we'll pick you up on Tuesday. If your trash day is Tuesday, we'll pick you up on Wednesday. Same with recycling. And then what we'll do is we'll take the yard waste day Wednesday and push that to Saturday. So everything will move back a day for the beginning of the week. So just got to remember, Christmas always has that holiday feel to it, but it's if you have a Monday pickup, you got to remember put your trash out Monday night on Christmas night for a Tuesday pickup. So make a note of that. I had the opportunity to visit various Christmas parades throughout the county in the past couple of weekends, and I can say that wow, do so many cities in so many different ways do a terrific job of promoting their community, and they certainly give us a run for our money, but man, it comes back down to our Parks and Rec runs it like a machine. And with all the departments that help out, Christmas weekend with the tree lighting ceremony and with the parade, it really does a wonderful job of putting people in the spirit of things. I thought it was interesting that this year's theme of Florida Christmas, and you ordered up from the chamber a nice 80-degree day, so we're all shorts and flip-flops and on the boat throwing out candy, but having a great time. It was a wonderful thing, but that also brings down to the fact that this is our last meeting of the year. We won't be meeting again until the middle of January, so I want to wish everybody who's listening and out there and watching a very, very Merry Christmas and joy of the holiday season to you, no matter how you celebrate it. If you need something from this city, we are a customer service organization first and foremost. Let us know. If we can't help you, we'll figure out how we can and where it can be done and what can be done. But We will be working even harder in 2024 on behalf of its citizens. But I want to thank staff for a wonderful, wonderful year in 2023, and I know we've got a lot more coming. Early February, we're going to have our town hall like we always do. I'm sure that flooding and infrastructure and transportation will be big topics at that town hall. We'll be more than happy to share what we have planned and what's on the horizon and what we've learned and what we've not learned. But take advantage of that. We're here for you. Wayne, I can see you chomping at the bit.
I just wanted to follow up because there were a couple council members mentioning the purchasing process and doing business with the city. So back in August, we did a workshop on doing business with the city. The video from that is available on our website. Mike will push it back up to, over time they drift down, so he's going to push it back up and put it back out on social. So since it was talked about tonight, we'll make that more prominent, but it's out there for people who want to do business. You can sign up to be one of our vendors ahead of time, so like you were all saying, you don't have to wait until there's a procurement opportunity. Have yourself out there and eligible. So our purchasing staff that's in the finance department be happy to help out. And then the other thing on all the construction projects, it's nice to hear some of the positives, because one of the things that you're going to be noticing is when we realigned Public Works, Engineering, and Public Utilities, we put a much stronger emphasis on the infrastructure maintenance and as well as new construction. And so you're going to see this. We've gotten way more positive thanks for sidewalk repairs. We haven't gotten everybody yet. I know there's people who haven't gotten to them yet, but we're working through it. We're actually having people saying thank you, the town park people. We've got 3 vendors out there knocking out sidewalks throughout the city, the pavement contract. So we have people who are project managers managing projects. I think you will see a tremendous positive movement in how we maintain and handle our infrastructure going forward based on that realignment, because we put really strong people in areas of their expertise, and I hope you will continue to see more positives as we go forward down that path.
Well, since you put that out there, now I can hold you accountable for it.
Wayne, real quick, on the notation about the social media stuff with Mike, if on the trash pickup schedule that the mayor, if it's not already on our city social media pages, I'm happy, I think all of us are, to start sharing that. But you brought up a good point, is maybe right before Christmas we need to push that one back up to the top, because I guarantee the day of Christmas people are on social
Remember
media
what we
trying to
told
figure it
you.
out. Yeah, oh, now I've got all this garbage, what do I put it, what do I do with it? So that's a good note, appreciate that.
And of course, everybody that has their trash picked up the very next day, they're the lucky ones. With that, board appointments, interviews, and reports. Item 15, fiscal year 22 to 23, fourth quarter financial reports. Wayne, who do we have doing that?
John McKinney.
I've heard of him.
We know this guy.
Mayor, council, how are y'all this evening?
Excellent.
Good to see you, John.
Yes. Mayor, a very brief overview of our preliminary unaudited fiscal year 2023 year-end financials. At the November council meeting, y'all approved the year-end budget amendment, ending our total fiscal year 2022-2023 budget was $145,207,340. Of that, here's the general fund. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I just want to highlight a few items on here. Our taxes for the year exceeded expectations. That has to do with the final year-end wraparound, and in a lot of cases, the fact that people paid prior late taxes. Our permits and fees exceeded, and then I just want to kind of end it with the fact that even though the other financing sources shows a deficit, that simply has to do with the fact that that was prior year appropriations that were budgeted, that are already in the bank account, and I done it on them twice, so it's just a budgetary item there. So that money was received the prior year. But overall, as you can see, we talk about this through our budget workshops. Taxes account for over 58% of our overall general fund budget. Intergovernmental revenues are 15%, and then all the other items that we receive, other financing sources, judgments, fines, etc., make up permit fees, etc., make up the remainder of our general fund budget. Our expenditures, Again, the biggest, we've talked about this repeatedly, but the biggest portion of any general fund budget is obviously your personnel. So you can see that we did come in under budget from that. That has to do with vacancies within various departments. I want to highlight just a couple of items over on here. Our contracted services, other financing uses, and other supplies, expenses, and capital outlay. The reason why those tend to be under budget is the fact that in today's marketplace, we can't get items when we order them. There's a lag time from when they're ordered versus received. So again, as part of the final year-end budget amendment in November, if y'all will recall, we carried forward those capital outlay and CIP projects from fiscal year 23 to fiscal year 24. If y'all recall, that was almost $101 million. So yeah, again, you can see the difference from one year to the next. We just move it from one fiscal year to the current fiscal year. A highlight would be on that is the fact that we ordered a fire truck September 29th of 22, probably won't receive it for another year. And we ordered another fire engine the end of this September, and we probably won't receive that for 3 years. So there is a huge lag time, and that's why there's such a big discrepancy in terms of capital outlay and CIP amongst all the funds.
That's amazing. It takes 3
I've
years
never
to get
seen
a fire
anything
truck.
like that, sir.
3 years.
Yep. And I spoke to some other fire departments the other day. It's the same thing. They're all in the same boat. General fund expenditures by department. The big takeaway on this, everyone, is the fact that when you look at the pie chart here, 43% of the overall general fund budget is public safety. The next biggest portion within a general fund budget is really your Parks and Rec, but then your interfund transfers. Those are the portion of the general fund budget that are the transfers that we send. We transfer over, whether it's to the golf course, 317 or capital outlay, or any other fund that is supported by the general fund, and that's what those internal fund transfers account for. Then the next portion of our budget, our other governmental funds, are our two CRAs, which we had discussed Town Center earlier, our trust and agency, which are our forfeitures and other funds. Then we have our special revenue funds. Those are our building fund, that is our CDBG, our other grant funds, etc. And then we have our debt service funds. Those are the funds that account for the debt that we pay for our general obligation bond, our Town Center and Eastport debt. And then the capital project funds. Those are our transportation funds, our general construction funds, etc. Those are all funds that has designated special revenues that fund those projects, or to transfer from the general fund or other funds for the collections that we see throughout the funds of the city. Our enterprise funds are basically our water sewer system, our stormwater utility, solid waste, and golf course. All three of these, the first three funds are all self-sustaining. The golf course is also self-sustaining, but the general fund does assist with any capital improvements. As y'all recall, we've done the cart path, roof replacements, etc.
Yeah.
Okay, but overall, the water sewer system, and I have, that includes our mitigation fund, our forestry fund, everything related to the water sewer system, but that is by far the largest enterprise fund we have. It almost rivals that of the general fund, 52 versus the $41 million. And that supports 29,000 customers. Okay. Our internal service funds, again, these are all funds that we've already paid for in our operating funds, the general fund, water, sewer, solid waste, stormwater, building, etc. But this is just a collection point, internal service fund. So, that if someone asks me, well, how much do we pay for risk, our health, casualty, property casualty, insurance, etc., I can go to one place and look at a budget versus looking at all the individual line items between the funds, departments, divisions. So that's the best way to keep track of an internal service fund. For the fiscal year 24 budget, We did migrate building maintenance because it's primarily a general funded, it is only a general funded activity. So that was moved into the general fund. But we also have data processing, which is information technology, vehicle maintenance, risk, lease replacement, and loan pool. As of 9/30/23, we have $35,073,372 dollars in outstanding debt. The biggest portion of all the debt related to the city is in our enterprise funds. And then the top one, the general obligation note, that is paid for a separate millage rate that supports that debt. As you can see, this the debt specifically related, if we were to look at the snapshot from the prior year, our debt service has been exponentially reducing because we're at the tail end of water sewer debt. As y'all know, we talked about this previously. You know, by this time next year, we'll probably be seeing a significant increase in the debt that's on this sheet as it relates to our water and sewer system.
As we invest in infrastructure for the next 30 to 40 years.
That's
It's
correct.
tied to that, so yeah.
It wasn't as of 9/30/23, but I just want to point out that on November 28th, we did issue a third portion to our TD Equipment Finance master lease agreement for that fire engine that will be received in 3 years. But as a recollection, our FA, Toby Wagner, did go in and he made sure that by us prepaying it, we were saving more money because we also got a discount by prepaying that engine. Cash and investments. The city, as of 9/30, had just under $134 million in cash and investments. The almost $55 million is held within our operating Truist bank account. The other, just under $79 million, is invested between Florida Palm and PFM. So we'll go into the snapshot of what is held with PFM. They are currently holding just under $44 million. In the last year, we at market received a 5.11% return on our investment. Our portfolio duration is 1.74 years, so that's well within our investment policy of 5 years. On the sector allocation, you can see that the majority of our funds are held by U.S. Treasury, because remember, when we're talking about the investment of the operating funds of the city, it's safety, liquidity, yield, so which is exact opposite of the 3 pension funds. So we are doing really good as it relates to our investments of the city. Per the policy, you can see that our credit quality, 18% of our investments are in AAA, over 50% is AA plus. So we are right on target with where we're supposed to be. You can see for the duration, I said that our average is 1.74, and you can see where the mix is that, we're right at that 1 to 2 year mark. This slide also includes our Florida Palm investments plus our PFM. So again, you can see, and our Truist Bank deposits. So this is where everything is. The majority, as I stated, U.S. Treasuries. The next would be in the local government investment pool, which is Florida Palm, and then our bank deposits. Our market themes, again, this is as September 30th, not current, but I want to point out that the U.S. economy is stronger than expected with the growth as of 9/30. Our Feds, they have held any additional rate hikes since July. But kind of like we heard them talk about with Bristol earlier, the interest rates have reached their highest levels since 2007. So that's impacting buying homes, buying cars. The reverse side to that, if you're investing, money, it actually is a great return. With that said, I'm on the General Employee Pension Board, and it was, discussed during that September 30th was strong. We saw a little, dip in October, first part of November, but the end of November was coming in strong, and I just don't have those details yet to provide that to you all. This just kind of shows us where the CPI, if you'll remember, back in July of 22, you know, we were at the highest inflation rate that we've seen in quite a few years, at least, you know, my, you know, recollection at 9.1. So you can see through the end of May, it was steadily declining. And when I was back here back in July of this year, we were in the mid threes. So, you know, it does appear to be stabilizing from all indexes. Again, not to go over this too much, but we are still seeing that, you know, rates, you know, at 30-year rates are at 4.7. That's the Fed rates. That's not what we're you know, getting loans at. And do I know? I had to get a loan of late, and it wasn't what I expected. There's no insight yet to when that might come down. You know, if I stood up here 2 years ago, it was anticipated to be, you know, late 22, early 23. Well, that didn't happen, so I can't tell you when the rates might go down. So we go into our pension, 3 pension plans. The way I did this is I took the information that we had readily available at 12/31/20 to kind of go in and show you what the value, the market value was of the plans at 9/30/21, 9/30/22, 9/30/23, and what we have preliminary, and it's not finalized, 11/30/23. So if I go back and just look at the you know, fiscal year 23, fire, we saw a 6.3% return, police a 9% return, general employees a 2% return. So if I go back and look at the prior year, fire was 3.6%, police was 5.2%, general employees was 2.7%. So if we go to the, so if you look at this, you can see that, you know, police has kind of gone up, a little bit down, but it is back on the rise from when we had our dip back in fiscal year 2022. Same with fire. General took a little dip, but it is maintained through the down periods of the last couple of years. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that, again, we were told a few quarters ago, that's primarily related to the fact that we're heavily invested in real estate, and real estate market is still hot in the commercial sectors. Net pension liability, you know, we saw a little bit with the market dip last year. We saw that the unfunded liability went down a little. I don't know where it's going to be at 10/1/23. However, based on what I showed you on the previous slide and the market returns, that actually should be good news for us when we get the pension valuations into February, first part of March. Employer contributions, you know, there's been a couple of little changes here in our pension plans. Police and fire, no change within general over the last 12 months. So that's why we've seen a little bit of an increase in the fire. Police actually went down considerably, even though we made a change, so that's good news. And general pension plan is maintained. And being a closed plan, that's very good news that we have maintained our percent of contribution. So for you know, as we ended the fiscal year on the pension, we paid a little for fire, a little over $3.4 million in employer contributions, police 2.7, and general employees 546,000. And then the final slide, finally, is going over our draft budget schedule. So just based on everything that we discussed in this year's budget workshop, everyone seemed to like the format, the number, etc. So we have preliminarily slated for the first budget workshop to be May 28th, the second July 9th, and I'm recommending the final budget workshop in August. And the only reason for that, we go live with Tyler. There's going to be a lot of work between finance and the department staff, so having that extra month would be a great plus for all those involved. so that way we can do our final balanced budget. And by then too, we will have all the state numbers where there's no guesstimation. And then the other item for consideration and discussion is when to set the maximum millage. We could do that as part of the regular council meeting or keep it as a special council meeting. And then these are the dates for the two required public hearings would be September 4th and September 18th, keeping it in line with how we've done it in previous years.
And we put this just to give you a choice, because last year, I know when we did such heavy work in July, there was a lot of vacation issues trying to fit everything in. And as soon as I saw this draft, I first thought, if you look at it, you have the 4th of July week that you can do something, but the whole rest of the month is taken up in these meetings. So we wanted to make sure this early on, where you're well in advance, we give you plenty of time to tell us when you'd prefer to meet. As John pointed out, you can have a workshop that's more detailed on the budget in June. You're just doing it off of more preliminary numbers. If you push too late in July, you lose most of July, but you've got to set that max millage in July. It's kind of your call. Do you want to have more time to talk about it that night? If you put it on a regular council meeting, sometimes we've had a longer discussion. So these are just a bunch of different ways. We can do it any way that council wants to.
And I think every budget cycle has its own personality based on the issues at the time, so.
We just don't want to set them all up in July and then
Right.
have that be when you want to be on vacation. So we'll set them up when, and we don't have to necessarily do it tonight. You can look at it and then let Tracy and Robin know, and we'll get back to what works for you. But just trying to make sure you understood the pros and cons of the choices, so.
Even right now, you get the second week of June, the last week of June, first week of July. That's a lot of possibilities, the second week of August, so there's still plenty of time. Okay.
Yeah, just let us know what works for you, and we'll fit that in.
Okay. What else you got?
That's it, Mayor.
Questions for Mr. McKinney? Everybody still awake?
Yes.
All right. Any comments? Anyone here care to speak to the item? There being none. John, thank you very much. I like working with that surplus. Item 16, Civil Service Board appointments. We have, click out of that. We have 3 openings. We have 3 prospects. Those prospects being John Junko, Debbie Connors, and Maria Mills Bonat have all volunteered to serve the city in this capacity, and all 3 of those people have served previously on city boards, and we don't have any other applicants. I would accept nominations right now.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we appoint John Junko, Debbie Connors, and Maria Mills Bonat.
I'll second that.
We have a motion, a second, to approve the 3 as one slate. Do we have any other nominations? I have to ask 3 times. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Nominations are now closed, so I am compliant with Robert's rules. Any comments on the nominees? Would anyone here care to speak to the item? There being none, council, final comments? All right, for approval, call the roll.
Councilman Brooks?
Yes.
Councilman Bastian?
Yes.
Councilman Stiltner?
Yes.
Mayor Burnett?
Yes, 4-0. That brings us to the public hearing portion of the meeting. The public hearing is now open. Item 17 is second reading of ordinance number 2023-18, which is an ordinance of the city of Port Orange, Volusia County, Florida, amending the Land Development Code, chapters 2, 3, 9, and 10, relating to definitions and interpretations, clarifying development applications considered to be major developments, adjusting resubmittal timeframes, clarifying requirements for meetings and membership of staff development review committee, renaming change of grade permit to minor engineering permit, and clarifying what is included, removing outdated references to stormwater management permit and wetlands alteration permit, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Move to approve ordinance number 2023-18.
You don't want to say that all again?
Yeah, what he said.
We have a motion on the floor for approval.
I'll second.
We have a motion on the floor and a proper second. The item is open on the floor for discussion. Second reading. Council, do we have any comments or questions?
Not on second reading.
I wasn't here for when the first reading was done on this, and I had some fielding questions after it happened. I think what we need to make sure is when we're talking about language, is that we understand that a language change doesn't always mean it's a change of the item.
Right.
So it was, that was a definition that was given to me, and talking with Wayne and Tim over it is making sure that people understand that we didn't change anything but the way the name is. We could call it something totally off the wall if we wanted to, but it doesn't change what has to happen with the item.
That is nuance at its finest. Okay. Anyone here care to speak to the item? Come on up, Robert.
Mayor, council members, Robert Reinhagen, 1425 Dexter Drive North, Port Orange. You know, the report, the staff report says that in a review of past development permits submitted over the last 20 years, there's no record of a storm water management permit or wetlands alteration permit being submitted or issued by the city. To me, that's a good thing. That means that the rules were nice and tight, and they're going to remain that way. But it has discouraged anybody from trying to get by and to destroy wetlands. And so I support that. By changing the title to minor engineering permit, I think it's going to encourage people to think that they can get away with destroying wetlands. And that's my concern. And I hope it won't happen, but I say don't. Thank you.
We will remain vigilant. Back to, anyone else? No other comments? Okay, now back to us. Final comments, questions? There being none, call the roll.
Councilman Grubbs,
Yes.
Councilman Bastian,
Yes.
Councilman Stiltner,
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 4-0. The public hearing portion of the meeting is now closed. That brings us to item 18, City Attorney Report.
Nothing further. tonight.
Excellent report, Matt. Thank you very much. City Manager Report. Is yours just as good?
Covered it earlier, thank you.
Okay. That brings us to Council Committee reports. First Step Shelter, Wayne, I would like you to, on the January agenda for an item, the First Step Shelter is doing the second annual gala coming up early next year, and the request of First Step Shelter is for the city to consider sponsoring a table, and I would like us to be able to discuss and vote on whether we want to participate at our January meeting. That'll be coming up. The First Step Shelter, we've also worked out a review process for the First Step Shelter director. Most of us are, I think all of us are very happy with the direction that it has taken, and the capacity improvements and the overall result. You know, after 2 years, 80% of the people who have gone through First Step Shelter are still in permanent housing. And now we're even talking about how we can continue to improve that. The safe zone is now open, and I'm very grateful to Roseanne Tornatore for her generous donation to help make that open, and that is a terrific addition and a very big help to law enforcement to have that in helping us all remain Pottinger compliant, as well as maintaining the mission of the First Step Shelter. Port Orange South Daytona Chamber of Commerce, I am going to put Barbara Ann on the spot since she is here, and she can tell us what's going on in the chamber. We had breakfast last Friday. What's going on in your holiday land?
Well, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, City Attorney, Department Head, and guests, and of course our wonderful City Manager. First, I would like to thank you, Mayor and Vice Mayor, for attending our annual gala last week, and Reed Foley as well. It was wonderful to bring in our new board chair, Michael Agri, that will start in January. Additionally, I would like to thank for the opportunity for the City of Port Orange to serve as a judge for the recent parade. I enjoyed the festivities, being new to Port Orange. It was just absolutely wonderful. Have the opportunity to work closely with Parks and Rec. I wanted to recognize Susan Lavello, Alexis Goings, Anna May, and Michael Springer. They're just outstanding to work with. I have a meeting scheduled this Friday with Susan just to further develop our rapport with one another. So Parks and Rec is very important to us. Additionally, this week I had the honor of sitting with the City of Port Orange Police Department for their commission of accreditation for law enforcement agencies. And I was able to speak on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, our strong relationship with the city police, and being able to talk about our partnership with the leadership program, being able to share how Chief Marino comes to many of our events, and that it also shows, I learned through this process that it is the 6th reaccreditation, and that you have the highest level of excellence, and that it is marking 20 years in 2024. And I can share that representing the business community, that when businesses relocate here to the area, the first question they always ask is, what is your crime rate? What is your relationship with the police? So to have this honor and recognition is just outstanding. So I will continue to be a strong promoter of that accreditation process, and I wish the chief well in the rest of the process. Additionally, I wanted to share with you that the Business After Hours is our final event this week. It is Thursday, December 14th from 5 to 7 at the Countryside Lakes. And they are recognizing Claire Metz. She is a broadcasting legend. Many of you may know her. I'm still new to the area. But we invite council members and mayor, if you're available, to please join us for this event. And finally, in January on the 13th, it's a Saturday, at the Daytona Beach Shores Community Center, we have our Better Life Business Expo. And this is a great opportunity for our local business community to be showcased. So we already have close to 40 businesses signed up, but we continue to recruit more businesses to be there. And thank you again for my first 6 months on the job here, being in the city of Port Orange. It's been a great honor to serve this community, and I look forward to growing my relationship with the city. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for being here. Hang out, don't leave. I got something for you afterwards. With that, we have the River to Sea TPO and Art House reports, but Reed Foley is not here to give those, so I just want to close on a couple of notes. One, like I said, it's the last meeting of the year. Want to wish everybody all the joy of the holiday season, no matter how you celebrate it. The point of it is to be able to celebrate it in a great community and to do it together. Appreciate Pastor Troxler for hanging out with us the entire meeting and starting us right. And Santa Claus is out there.
Just a thought, when you're going through the garbage schedule, are you going to use that same schedule for the New Year's week? Since you have New Year's Day on Monday also, is that correct?
I think that's the plan, but we'll get that out there.
Well, since it hadn't been talked about and this is your last meeting, I figured, hey.
We will help
Good
you with all
point,
that New
Stan.
Year's trash. Thank you, Stan. If nothing else comes before us this evening, have a good night, everybody. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas.
Perfect.